What's up, wave makers? It's Mommy Tsunami here. I wanted to talk about this sooner because this all started on Tuesday, but like I've been telling you guys, I've just had some medical shit going on, and like there are some days when I can get myself out of bed and do shit, and other days I can't, and like this is the moment where my body said, okay, Savannah, go yell in front of a camera for a while. So here we are. Rolling with the punches. Okay. Oh, Pop-Tart's in here too, by the way. I know you guys get so excited when she's in here. She's a good kitty. Okay, so BeautyCounter. It's been a wild past few days, I tell you what. Ever since this came out. So basically, BeautyCounter announced that they are partnering with Sephora in a limited time run with a limited amount of their products for, I guess, over the course of the summer. Obviously, when we first hear about this, like, this is extremely frustrating. As of this moment, as I'm filming this, Sephora hasn't come out and said anything publicly yet, like not on Twitter or anything, but I guess Sephora's chief merchandising officer, Artemis Patrick, did like a reveal video with Greg Renfrew, which is the CEO of I almost said Beachbody, BeautyCounter. But other than that, Sephora has been pretty silent. BeautyCounter has been the one where we've been getting pretty much all of this information from. According to their product list, which I'll put on the screen here, these are all the products that they're going to be selling in Sephora and on Sephora.com. I don't know, to me that seems like a pretty big chunk of products to be selling. Like, obviously it's not everything they offer, but it's a pretty good chunk. This partnership begins in July. It's for 4 months. Roberta Blevins posted like a screenshot that I'm assuming is from BeautyCounter's website, but the screenshot she posted is pretty blurry, so reverse image search didn't come up with anything, so I don't know if this was from the back office, and that might be why everything is blurry. But it's on Roberta Blevins' Facebook page, so if you want to try to read it yourself, go for it. That's pretty much all the information we have about the actual partnership itself. At first, a lot of consultants got mad because they're like, how are we now supposed to compete with a huge like retailer like Sephora? But BeautyCounter quickly shot all that shit down and said, hey guys, this is a good thing. Basically what they're saying is that by partnering with Sephora, it's gonna bring validity to their product, and also it's gonna bring more people to the product, so then after it gets pulled out of Sephora, people will be more willing to look for a consultant and buy from them. Then they have stated that they will be putting inserts in every single BeautyCounter product, referring them to how to find a consultant. It's all pretty messed up. And in that case, you have to recognize there is going to be a lot of recruitment that comes from this, and a lot of those people are not going to be educated on what MLMs are. Speaking of that, this might be all over the place. I didn't script this shit out or anything. It's just been a big clusterfuck of bullshit since this came out, but yeah, there's a lot of BeautyCounter reps who don't think that BeautyCounter is an MLM, so that was surprising to me to hear. You know what's really interesting to me is that MLMs are trying to like make the term MLM a derogatory term, and it's like, no, but that's what you are though. They don't want to be called an MLM because there is a negative connotation to that acronym for good reason. But that all aside, yeah, so at this point, the BeautyCounter Huns are all like, yeah, woohoo, we're gonna get more recognition for this. We're gonna make more sales in the long run. You know, maybe for the next 4 months, maybe they won't. But once they're pulled out of Sephora, they're gonna have to turn to the consultants. Well, also the other thing is too, is that you can buy stuff off of the BeautyCounter website without going through a consultant, but they also have like a membership program too with BeautyCounter. I mean, at the very least, they're gonna be signing up more people to at least be members. And then once they're there, it'll be a lot easier to convert them into consultants. When you really look at it, it's pretty messed up. So of course, after hearing this, I'm like, fuck Sephora. We need to speak out about all this. So I started tweeting shit. I posted stuff on Instagram, tagged Sephora in it, and I know I'm not the only anti-MLMer who did any of this shit. Madison Harnish is messaging me right now asking me if I'm gonna make a video about Sephora and BeautyCounter. Oh girl, what was I talking about? I'm sitting here thinking like we need to lead a charge to boycott Sephora when, hey, turns out, and maybe it's just because I live under a rock, but it turns out there was already kind of a boycott Sephora thing going on a few months back. They had like a big controversy where they told all their employees that once COVID hit and things started closing, they told their employees that they'd had nothing to worry about. They were gonna pay for them to be out of work and not to worry about their job security, only to lay off like 30% of their people. Anyone who is part-time with Sephora, which is a lot of people, speaking from someone who worked in a retail environment for 10 years throughout all the changes that came with Obamacare and stuff like that, when that stuff started hitting and they were required to give their employees health insurance if they were over like 28 hours, they got their hours cut because the companies didn't want to have to pay for benefits. This has been going on for a while. So Sephora, of course, obviously is one of these companies, and they let go of all their part-timers, leaving people without jobs, like just kind of out of the blue, without warning, after telling people they were gonna have job security. So it's really messed up. They had that going on a few months ago. So you have this company, Sephora, who's laying people off during a fucking pandemic, which, okay, you know what? They're not the only company who did that. But Sephora went out of their way to tell people not to worry about it and then did it anyway. A lot of people ended up jobless, and now they're giving a spotlight to a multi-level marketing company. Now, when you look back to a few months ago, we had the whole controversy with Anastasia Beverly Hills partnering with Rodan and Fields, and as soon as the anti-MLM community spoke up, Anastasia Beverly Hills was like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't go through with this. I know it was kind of like controversial, but I think they cut it short or something like that. They took action. Regardless of how they took action, they took action. As of right now, this came out 2 days ago, and Sephora hasn't said shit. As a matter of fact, Sephora is still posting all over Twitter and all over Instagram about other shit, and myself and many other anti-MLMers are going on every single one of their posts and being like, shut this shit down, shut it down, Sephora, we're not happy. And they are completely ignoring us. They are ignoring our pleas and our cries for something to change here. They don't give a shit. It's all about money at this point. Are we really surprised? No. But this brings me to, why do we even care? And I got this question a lot after posting shit. You know, of course I posted this stuff on Instagram, and I did the anti-MLM hashtags and BeautyCounter and shit. So I knew the Huns were gonna come out in full force, and they did. I made more people mad on the internet. What else is new? But here's why this is a big deal. The Black Lives Matter movement, I don't need to tell you how big it is right now. We all understand, we all know how shit is going down and why shit is going down. Sephora has come out on multiple platforms saying that they're an ally for Black Lives Matter. Well, if that's the case, then BeautyCounter should not be on their list of companies to be putting in the spotlight right now, and I will tell you why. There are a ton of allegations right now. Ever since the protests and everything started, people started coming out talking about how racist Greg Renfrew, the CEO, is, and how they were mistreated in the corporate offices, and I'm gonna read them to you because it's like, it's just messed up. After hearing this shit, if Sephora is really an ally for Black Lives Matter, this should be off the table. This partnership should be no more. But here we go. Here's our first one. I wish I didn't have to write this. I wish my experience at BeautyCounter wasn't as traumatizing as it was. I wish I could simply call it inevitable growing pains at the inception of a new company. But unfortunately, what I experienced working in the corporate offices of BeautyCounter was concerted, organized racism under the leadership of Greg Renfrew. I can remember the day I walked out of those offices in tears, knowing I could never return. I felt small, I felt devalued, and professionally drained. My heart still hurts when I think about the fried chicken and watermelon that was served to staff following a string of complaints about overt racism. The silly smirk on Greg Renfrew's face when I brought it to her attention by letting her know it was offensive. By the way, I got all these screenshots from FreeSpirit78 on Instagram. They blacked out the names already. Like, I have no way of kind of knowing like where these screenshots came from. They look like Instagram comments, but I'm not sure where they came from. And again, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that these are allegations. I am not saying that any of this is fact. Do I believe that they actually happened? Yes. Of course I do. But that is my personal opinion based on what is presented to me. But the fact still remains that these allegations are out there, and ignoring them is doing a disservice to Black Lives Matter. Anyway, here's some more. In my time working for BeautyCounter, I witnessed disturbing overt racism in the office. I witnessed Black friends and coworkers share how unsafe they felt and the severe pain this causes. At one point, the entire customer care department almost quit because of these behaviors. I'm truly sorry for not standing up for my friends sooner and for not quitting at the first signs of blatant racism. BeautyCounter is a disgraceful company and toxic work environment. Well, BeautyCounter Company is an extremely racist company and filled with white women in leadership positions stealing work from minorities and passing it off as their own. Bullies and mean girls with zero respect for anyone that isn't white. They keep minorities in lower level positions because they don't want to diversify their leadership, and it's disgusting. It's obvious from their branding and arsenal of products what this company is all about. No thanks. I also experienced overt racism here, classism and bullying as well. Lawyers were used to intimidate black voices. Even right now, the CEO is using her power to muzzle people. They've removed comments from Facebook. Greg Renfrew should release people from her thuggish non-disclosures so that people of color can speak out about their experience working for her. Let's talk about that non-disclosure allegation here, because this seems to be a common theme when we're talking about BeautyCounter. I made a video, like one of my deep dives into BeautyCounter a few months ago, so if you haven't watched it, this whole story that I'm about to talk about is in there in more detail, but I'm going to bring it up now. In that video, I discussed a story from a blogger. The blog's name was I Read Labels For You. The blog's name speaks for itself. She talks about whether or not ingredients are clean and safe for families and your health and stuff like that. With BeautyCounter, they try to preach that they're so transparent about what's in their products, about being clean and testing for this and that. But the problem is that nobody has access to those test results. So if you have a company who claims to be so transparent, there is no reason, if you're not doing anything wrong, why you should be hiding testing results from the public. Or at the very least, you know, like if someone requests one for a certain lot by email or something like that, you know, give it to them. It's not like if you have nothing to hide, just give it over. But in this specific situation here, this blogger kind of got thrown around between customer service reps and they all told her, sorry, I can't give you that information. Well, she ended up getting it projected to the higher people, where I think she ended up doing like a Skype call or something like that, where these people told her, you know what? Fine, we will give you the test results, but you have to sign an NDA, and you're not allowed to tell anyone you signed an NDA, and you're not allowed to tell anybody what is in the papers that we give you. That's not sketchy at all. So of course this girl's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. My job is to run this blog. Like, it would satisfy her own curiosity, but it wouldn't do anything for anyone else. She wouldn't even be able to say that she signed that NDA in the first place. That is so sketchy. Like, what are you trying to hide? So I call bullshit on everything they ever say about transparency, about being transparent, yada yada yada, because if they had nothing to hide, we would be able to see those test results. Point blank, but we can't. Anyone can go email customer service right now and try to get any copy of any test result without having to sign an NDA. I'll wait here. Oh, because you can't. You just can't. It won't happen. BeautyCounter will not give that to you. So this NDA shit is like a big thing in BeautyCounter. Greg Renfrew makes all of her people sign NDAs when they get hired with a company? Is that what's going on here? Because that is sketchy. They're clearly not transparent, not nearly as they say they are anyway, and they got shit to hide. Anyway, okay, here's another allegation against BeautyCounter with racism in the workplace. 100% true. I only worked with you briefly, Timothy, but I do remember the day you quit and everything that followed after. BeautyCounter is not for people of color and even less black professionals. I was overworked and underpaid all throughout my entire year and some change when I worked in counter support myself. The overtime I was constantly asked to do, even when I was 8 months pregnant and going through quite a few health issues, was not even the worst part of what this company did to me. BeautyCounter reeks of racism and discriminatory practices within all levels of management. Words cannot express my hatred and disgust for that company. So those are all the screenshots I have from Free Spirit 78, but these are pretty serious allegations. I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. Even though, you know, I don't think there's proof that any of this happened, especially if they've all signed NDAs. days, it should be enough for a Black Lives Matter movement ally to be like, you know what, maybe we don't want to work with you. I think Sephora is being super sketchy about this whole thing. So that's one reason why we care. That's one reason why the anti-MLM community is so loud about this right now. But listen, the other reason is one that if you're here watching this video, you've most likely been here before and you kinda know why the anti-MLM movement exists in the first place, and I'm gonna go through it here because there might be people here who just don't understand it. Well, the FTC did a study. It's kind of an older study, so a lot of the Huns don't like to give it any kind of credit at all. So to that, I say, well, there's an AARP study that was done like less than 2 years ago that found very similar numbers. They even found that you have a higher chance of gaining a profit gambling at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas than you do joining a multi-level marketing company. This is like a 40-page document or something like that, give or take. I don't remember off the top of my head. I just remember it's a really long document. Like it's a study. They did a full-on study. Whether you want to listen to the AARP study from a few years ago or the FTC study that's a little older, either way, statistically, most people who join an MLM will either not make any money or lose money. And the problem is that when people join these companies, they're not often presented with that information. There are income disclosure statements that one can look at, but when you're being pursued to be recruited for one of these companies, that's not the shit they're gonna send you. The FTC says they have to, if they're gonna make income claims and things like that, they have to provide an income disclosure statement per FTC guidelines. So instead of doing that, they're just gonna send you their own shit. Usually when someone is recruited into a multi-level marketing company, it is based on manipulation and lies. Often delusions of grandeur, empty promises of a better life, being able to stay home with your family, making money from your phone, shit like that, and then you get in and you realize that it's not as easy as the person who recruited you says it is. So a lot of people end up failing. When you fail, it's always your fault. They will make it your fault. Well, you didn't try hard enough. You didn't this, you didn't that. And the FTC, as recently as less than 2 weeks ago, they sent out 6 warning letters to multi-level marketing companies who are trying to prey on vulnerable people during the COVID-19 outbreak who have either lost their jobs or are tight on money. They're using the pandemic to recruit more people. Did I mention that these are pretty much pyramid schemes also? Now, they loathe if you ever call their company a pyramid scheme. But the fact of the matter is that the FTC defines a pyramid scheme as a company that if you make more money from recruiting people than you do from product sales, that's a pyramid scheme. And a majority of these companies have that in common. The problem is that the FTC doesn't have a big enough task force to individually research these and investigate these companies and shut them down. Now they have been. In the past year, we've seen Success by Health and Advocare get shut down or fined. Herbalife was fined millions of dollars a few years ago for being a pyramid scheme, and Herbalife's one of the bigger ones. Oftentimes they have to redo their entire business structure in order to comply with the FTC. So, I mean, it's a big thing. And while the FTC does do work, there's probably a lack of funding. Their task force is not as big as it needs to be, but they're doing work. And when they find examples of people breaking their guidelines, the first step is to send them a warning letter, which they have done. In the past, like 3 or 4 months, they've sent out 2 rounds. I think it's like 18 altogether. 18 different companies got warning letters from the FTC because they're practicing like a fucking pyramid scheme and recruiting people based on false income claims, because any one of them can sit there and go, I make enough money to stay home with my daughter. And it's like, well, in reality, you're $300 in the hole every month. But, you know, they said they're successful. So the point is, these companies are built upon lying, manipulating in order to make money. And what's interesting is when you see these team calls, these motivational calls, they always focus on recruiting, not the product. So no matter what Karen told you to try to get you to join BeautyCounter, it's probably not as truthful as it sounds. Now, BeautyCounter especially, according to their income disclosure statement, 82% of the people who are in BeautyCounter make around $500 a year. However, with BeautyCounter, there is a 6-month minimum that you have to meet of $1,200. Now, you can make that by selling product, yes, but I'm here to tell you, as someone who has been in an MLM and knows how hard it is to sell shit, it ain't that easy. I think in the entire 8 months I was with Lime Life, I didn't even meet half of that. It's very, very hard, especially when you are made to believe that you need to victimize your friends and family as your customers in order to rank up and things like that. So it's not easy. Karen will make it sound easy. It's not easy. A really great resource for this, it's just an anecdote, but it's a good story. Elbow is her name. I think it's a pseudonym or whatever, but she has a blog about her time with Unique that goes through all the tactics that were used to try to get her to make sales and rank up. But anyway, so back to BeautyCounter. If you do not make that $1,200 6-month minimum, you will be knocked out of your consultantship back down to their member status, which what we were talking about earlier is just like you're not a distributor, you don't make money, you just get a like 10% discount or something like that. So a big argument that a lot of MLMs like to do is, oh well, our numbers are so low because people are just joining for the discount. Well, with BeautyCounter, it's not really like that, because why would you spend hundreds of dollars on their starter kit only to be kicked out 6 months later because you didn't buy another $1,200 worth of product? So 82% of people are making about $500 a month, but they're spending, assuming they didn't make any sales, which it's very hard to make sales, I'm telling you right now. You can argue it all you want, Karen, but okay. They are spending $2,400 in a year, meaning that they are $1,900 in the hole every single year. So you can't say that people are just joining for the discount. They're being forced to spend $1,200 every 6 months if they want to continue to get the discount that they do. And it's like 25%. I think it can go up to 35% depending on how much you sell, but no one's selling anything, so it's messed up. And what BeautyCounter is going to do after, you know, digging their claws into people who don't know any better, they're gonna go, well, yeah, you can be a member and get 10% off, or you can be a consultant and get 25% off. And then this poor little naive girl is gonna go, okay, do I want 10% off or 25% off? She's gonna go for the 25%, and then when she gets in, she's gonna realize, shit, if I want to keep this up, I have to spend $1,200 in 6 months, or they're gonna knock me back down. I heard, but I'm not sure, maybe it was another MLM, but I'm pretty sure it was BeautyCounter, but I also can't find proof of this, so maybe it was just bullshit. But I heard that when COVID hit, they took away the $1,200 minimum. Yeah, there's not really any proof of that I can easily find online. It could be in the back office, I don't know. Either way, it is entirely possible that they changed this stuff around when COVID hit, but I'm not seeing it. So anyway, long story short, MLMs suck. They're predatory. They prey on people who are naive and don't know any better. And the point of the anti-MLM community is to educate people on what these companies really are, hopefully before they actually end up joining. Because here's the thing, is that once you're in an MLM, the brainwashing begins, and then it becomes trying to kind of deprogram a cult member at that point. And that's not me being dramatic. There are a lot of similarities between MLMs and cults. If you compare them to the bite model, you'll see a lot of staggering comparisons that make you go, Not to mention, there's an article, I think it was on Vice, and I always link it in my descriptions, where an actual professional cult deprogrammer came out and gave people advice on how to get friends out of an MLM using cult deprogramming tactics. So if that's not enough to say, yeah, they actually are pretty similar, I may be dramatic, but I'm not being dramatic about this. MLMs are very culty, they're very brainwashy, some are worse than others, but it's like talking to a brick wall. Once someone is in there, there's not much you can say to get them out. So I mean, personally, this is how I feel about the anti-MLM community. This is about educating people who don't know, so that when they are inevitably approached with a business opportunity, they'll be able to think for themselves and go, okay, this is an MLM and I should stay away. That's the big thing. Like it's never been my target audience to talk to people who are in an MLM already. Sometimes people do, and they come around to it, and I get those messages all the time like, thank you, you helped me get out. That's great, and I'm always happy when I get those messages. Those people are few and far between, you know? Anyway, I know I've been ranting. This whole thing is just like giving me a fucking brain aneurysm. Even on Roberta Blevins' Facebook, she made a post where there was a hun that was arguing. There's like 54 comments on this page, so if you guys want to go read through it, it's some pretty good entertainment. Someone commented and said that BeautyCounter is not an MLM. We went through that shit. BeautyCounter is an MLM no matter which way you slice it. And somehow they got on the topic of MLMs don't kill people, or or something, and a lot of us came out of the woodwork to be like, actually, and my example was the Cambridge diet back in the 80s was responsible for the deaths of like 15 people or something like that. I talked about it in, I believe, my isogenics video, but this was back in the 80s, and the Cambridge diet was and still is an MLM. They just renamed it to the 1-to-1 diet, and obviously after people fucking died, they ended up revamping stuff, and it's not the same diet plan anymore. But yeah, it was like a super serious starvation diet, and people literally died. And that's not the only time an MLM has killed anybody. Let's talk about people who don't believe in modern medicine but take essential oils instead. There's been evidence of that happening, of people refusing to get medical treatment and just relying on essential oils and then dying. Like, this has happened. And what I've noticed too is that the people who are arguing and defending BeautyCounter through all this like to bring up the advocacy that BeautyCounter does on Capitol Hill as far as reforming the regulation on the beauty industry, which, hey, I'm all for it. That's great. It's work that does need to be done. There really isn't much regulation that is being done on beauty products and then like vitamins and supplements as well. But that's a whole big thing between the FDA and the FTC and DSHEA, I think, and all that shit. Like, it's a lot more complicated than just being like, there needs to be new laws. Regardless, yeah, that work probably should be done. It's a good fight to be fighting. However, all of that is completely overshadowed, in my opinion, by the shit that Greg Renfrew is doing behind closed doors, aka taunting people of color with fried chicken and watermelon. What the fuck? Like, you can't cover up her racist bullshit with, but she does good work on Capitol Hill for makeup. It's not like, human rights will always come before makeup for me. Sorry. And it should for you too. That's what I don't get. Literally on my Instagram, I posted all of those screenshots of those stories of the allegations, and people still came in to defend it. And I'm like, how can you read? Like, did you even read what I posted? Why? You are defending some terrible fucking shit right now. There's a lot wrong with BeautyCounter. There's a lot wrong with Sephora. Long story short, I'm boycotting Sephora no matter what at this point. At first I was like, I'm boycotting Sephora until they shut this shit down. I mean, no, either way I'm gonna boycott them after I found out about how they treated their employees after COVID, their whole mass firing thing. I cannot support them anymore, so there's that. But I hope that some of you guys will consider boycotting as well, even at least until they decide to take action on this, which I honestly don't think they will. At this point, I'm just angry. I'm sick of people blatantly defending racist activities in more ways than one in the world right now, not just with MLMs, just in general. Like, I'm fucking sick of it, and I'm not gonna keep my fucking mouth shut. I will keep tweeting at Sephora, calling them out for being hypocrites for partnering with such a racist fucking company and a racist fucking CEO. I will keep doing it, and I hope that the rest of us will too. This is not acceptable, especially in this social environment right now. So, you know, this is more than just, oh, a company is giving a spotlight to an MLM. Yeah, I mean, for me, that's enough for me to boycott a company, but not for everyone else. It's more than that right now. There's a lot that goes into it. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up, but not before I thank my patrons. The biggest thank you in the world goes to Unknown System Error, MK, Michelle Matthews, Irene Nordid, Amanda McMahon, Corey Allison, Karina Winman, Maria Burchett, Molly Wasilewski, Whitney Gregory, Katrina Rosemarick, Elizabeth Wyatt, Clark, Kimberly Taylor, Whitney James, Sarah Hennemuth, Jackie Waple, Daniel Urena, Jenny Ruby, Oren, April Lindblom, Bobby, Ashley Nichols, Tuesday the 13th, Justin Kelsey, E. Higgins, Muir Family of 7, Savannah Karkoskis, Maddie, Brianna Coulter, Boris Geller, Rachel McHenry, Desiree Lopez, Molly Bresson, Vandis Closet, Kim Cartwright, JP Eugenio Schaefer, Maddie Darley, and Kelly Creffield, and to the rest of my wonderful patrons. And even if you're not a patron, thank you for being here and being you and making it to the end of this fucking crazy ranty ass video. It's been a lot and I'm very sorry, but I'm thankful that you guys are here, and I'm thankful that there are people out there who know my intentions and know that I'm not always in bitch mode against the Huns, but in this situation, I just had to be. So thank you for those of you guys who put up with my shenanigans in that way. And thank you for those of you guys who show up and do actually talk to the Huns in a respectful manner, because God knows I can't do it anymore. I guess that's all I have to say. So keep making waves, babes, and I will smell you guys later. Mommy Tsunami out.